Welcome back to the Cam and Strick podcast. Great to be with you. We've got another great guest for you here today. By the way, we're live at the Normal brand. I'll throw that out there. 8809 Ladue Road. Come on by. Get some new threads. This is the spot.
They got great stuff here.
Yeah, great spot.
Stuff.
Great people, too.
Yes, and it's very cozy in here. You feel like you're at a restaurant in South Dakota.
All right, speaking of great people, Ryan Reaves, one of the better people to come through the Blues organization. Even Doug Armstrong, when he traded Reaves to Pittsburgh, he said this was a tough one. Considering he was a draft pick by the Blues, and then to see him go, obviously it's worked out pretty well for him, though, man. He's found a home in Vegas.
Yes, he has, and he's doing great things out there. He's on a great team. He knows his role. He's effective every single night, and he's adapted to the game. And every single year, you got to find a way to stay in the NHL, especially with the role he plays, and he's doing a great job of it.
Yeah, and he took your job.
Thank you.
All right, so how did that whole thing go down?
Well, he's 6'1", 225 pounds, solid, jacked, and he could play the game. So he took my job, Andy. Thank you for bringing that. No, it was great. I had him out to the house, and we kind of went in that a little bit, but it's just one of those things that happen when you're an athlete, and he's the guy that took my job. But man, oh man, I'd rather him do it than anybody else.
Yeah. Are you surprised that he's gone on to have the career that he's had?
You know, a little bit. No, a little bit. Absolutely. Be able to, again, to adapt to this league and the speed. And every year he got better. He worked on something every single year, and he's still kicking around. And he doesn't need to fight anybody because intimidation is such a key thing still in the NHL.
What makes him the toughest player in the game today?
Because he's 6'1" and he's 225 pounds of jackness, and he's tough and crazy. And he hits like a truck. So tie that all together, and you got a horse on your hands.
But he throws.
He throws hard. He won't throw lefts, though.
Oh, you studied that.
Damn right.
How would you do against him?
Probably terrible. We'd go for 2 minutes. I'd have a strategy. I've been thinking about this plenty, but I'd have a strategy, and I'd wear him out a little bit, and I'd tie his right hand up, and I'd throw lefts, and I'd force him to throw lefts against me.
Yeah, all right. It's good conversation. Mm-hmm. I do want to throw out
What would
there.
you do?
Turtle. You know I'd turtle.
Yeah, you would.
Probably run the other way.
That's okay. It'd be funny.
Where does Vegas play? What building?
T-Mobile Arena.
Can you get Ryan Reaves a new cell phone, please?
Ooh. His cell phone is Zach Morris gave him a cell phone, and that's what he used. So just sorry about that. It's not on our end. We're going to blame that on Reaver.
We'll blame it on him only because he's a couple thousand miles away.
Exactly.
And he can't beat us up. But the audio is audible, okay? You're able to hear exactly what he's saying, but it's a little muffed up a little bit. And so you just kind of have to have a little bit of patience with the interview. Obviously, the sound didn't go exactly the way we wanted it to, but it is what it is. Sometimes when you're doing live interviews, man, you just gotta roll with it. Roll with the punches, no pun intended. All right, Ryan Reaves, Vegas Golden Knights, coming at you now here on the Cam and Strick podcast. Enjoy. Welcome back into the Cam and Strick podcast. Always good to have you with us. Of course, last week we had a great one with Mike Commodore. You can check all that out.
Big Red.
Yes, sir. You can check that out on YouTube, also iTunes. Now we're on Spotify as well, Cam. You talk about Blues favorites, and you think I'm talking about you, but I'm not talking about you.
I know.
Okay?
Thank you.
Ryan Reaves, one of the all-time favorites here in St. Louis. Still people following his career. Now he's doing his thing in Vegas and still rolling along, having a great NHL career, and he's with us here now here on our podcast. Good to have you with us, Reaver. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Well, we're doing well, Reaver, and I've known you for quite a bit now, played against you. We never fought, but you did take my job. We're going to get into all that kind of stuff. Yeah, I know. Thank you. Laugh about it.
No problem.
We'll get into that in a little bit. But first off, you're playing in Vegas, man. Like, how is it? Like, do you live downtown? Can you walk to the rink? Are you down on the strip a lot? Like, tell us about playing there, living and playing in Vegas right now, bud.
No, I live in a place called Summerlin. It's like 25 minutes from the strip. Our practice rink is out here. Basically, all the boys live out here. Nobody lives on the strip. Nobody lives really close to the strip, to be honest. We do everything in Summerlin, so there's no really point. But honestly, man, like, it's unreal playing there. It's wild. Like, just coming to the rink every day you're just like, wow, I can't believe I play in this city. It's way different. There's just a different vibe to this team than any other city.
You said you don't live on the strip, and I've talked to David Perron about this as well, who played there obviously in the inaugural season. But what about when you want to entertain yourself? Like, are you allowed to go and do whatever you want? Do they warn you about it when you sign there? I'm just curious how that plays out when you're playing for the Golden Knights.
Yeah, I mean, I get down there for a show here and there, and I definitely go for dinners down there. But to be honest, like when you live in Vegas, the Strip kind of gets old if you go down there too much. So, like, I haven't even been down there this season yet. I was only down there 2 or 3 times all summer. Like, if you just keep doing it, all of a sudden, that whole wow of Vegas Strip kind of is just like, yeah, it's just a Strip. So I don't want that to happen. So, and I also don't want to get in trouble. If it's a dangerous city to get in trouble, and so I try and steer clear as much as I can.
It's probably for the best, though, Reaver. Do people recognize you? I mean, like, St. Louis is a bubble. You can't go anywhere without somebody recognizing you. It's a small, big town. But in Vegas, there's just so many other things going on. I mean, can you walk down the street? Do people come up to you? Is it? I mean, I know you say you're not down at the Strip a lot, but even going to the store and things like that, do people come up to you all the time?
For sure, more than St. Louis. Man, more than St. Louis in my second year, to be honest.
Wow.
Like the city just. They love the team here, and I'm sure it's not just me. I'm sure it's every player on the team. But yeah, I go shopping and go down, and even down on the Strip where you think it's mostly tourists, but the locals that work there, they recognize you. They're really nice. So they don't really bother you. They come up, they say hi, good game, whatever. But yeah, no, it's more than I would have thought in Vegas for sure.
Why do you think that is? Because I mean, for being a new team. And it's not a hockey hotbed. I mean, is it because they've never had a professional sports team in the entire community?
It's a hockey hotbed, though.
Figure it out, Andy.
It's a hockey hotbed. I just think it's the first professional team, like you said here, and the city just really loves the team. Like we go to practice, and half the times the whole practice arena is sold out. Last year in the playoffs, they had to handle wristbands for people for practice because they were over capacity one day, and it's just like, okay, it's a fire hazard. We got to start cutting back on the people out in here. You know what I mean? It's like the city it has jumped on board with the Knights, and it's unbelievable.
When I say it's not a hockey hotbed, Reaver, I just mean
backpedal. Don't fucking backpedal.
Quick backpedal.
Jesus Christ.
Moonwalk. I'm talking from a traditional standpoint. It's not a traditional hockey market. St. Louis isn't either, even though the Blues have been around for a long time. But I also coach youth hockey and have been around it for a long time. And I know Vegas has had strong youth hockey programs, and it's only getting bigger and bigger. But did it catch you off guard, though, Reaver, when you first came there? Because you probably didn't think it was the hotbed that it is either.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, when I played with Pittsburgh, I thought it was going to be, 50% Pittsburgh fans and 50% Vegas fans, or even worse. And, to be honest, the first time we played there were a lot of Pittsburgh fans. But then when I got traded here, it was the exact opposite. It was all Knights fans every game. And, there's going to obviously be those fans that travel because people are going to want to come to Vegas anyways. And, all their teams playing. So, yeah, let's travel at the same time. So, obviously, there's going to be those visiting team fans, but it's 90-10 right now in that arena, and that was I would never have expected that in the desert.
Okay, Reeve, let's get into coming up and finally making the NHL. Of course, if you guys don't remember, you were part of the St. Louis organization. I had you over at the house. You're a monster. I look at you in the locker room when I was still playing there, and you're younger than me, and I'm looking at you, and I'm like, this dude's going to take my job one of these days. Like, you take your shirt off, I'm like, oh, he's way more jacked than I am. Oh, cool. Oh, and he could skate. Oh, and he has decent hands. Okay, I'm fucked. But I remember what?
But what, me? Hey, but to your credit, Jan, I was just thinking about this today. Knowing that I was coming in, trying to take your job, you were so nice to me. Like you said, inviting me over to your house, taking me out on the town, that's got to be a tough thing to do. And that's one thing I kind of learned from you, because there's always going to be somebody trying to take your spot, but, you got to stay professional, and that's still your teammate, and that's, I'll always remember that.
Well, I remember, I appreciate that, man. You came over and I was showing you hockey fights. I was showing you, legitimately, I'm in the office. He's half asleep, and I'm on YouTube showing him my hockey fights.
You're one of those?
I'm one of those guys.
Oh, my.
Oh, man. You should have seen this guy, though. It was like, puts in the tape, and then he pauses it, and then he sets up the whole thing for me. He's like, yo, this guy, he ran our best player the day before. I was like, no, not in my house, so I'm going to go home. And then he shows me the tape, rewind. I was like, oh, I caught him with the right there. Fast forward to the next one. Oh, 2 weeks before that, this guy was in my face, giving me a face. I was like, no way you're doing that to Cam Janssen. It's like every single fight he had some kind of setup for him.
Well, yeah, I mean, but the point is it's funny. Like, I was just trying to show you, like, these guys, you have to have some sort of structure going into some of these fights, and I guess we'll get into that too. I mean, so you get called. First off, I get knocked out. I get knocked out by my own teammate, Brad Winchester.
Yes.
We collide. This is Reaver. That was Kate's. When my wife now she finally brought her parents to a game, the first game they've ever seen me live, and I'm choking on my tongue in the corner because Brad Winchester, my own. And then I get on. I have to sit out a couple games, right? Like 7 games. Reaver gets called up. He's first shift. He goes out to bury somebody behind the net. I'm like, oh boy. I'm watching it from home. Everybody's like texting me, like doing this, doing that. Then you go out there, and it was against Anaheim, which they had a badass team at the time. They're always tough. They're leading the league in fights. You get into a fight, and you piss pump some poor sap, and then your tie down wasn't down, so you get booted out of the fucking game. And then you came on a road trip with us as well, and you scored 2 goals in 2 games. I'm like, okay, it's over. It's over. I'm calling Lou Lamoriello and seeing if he has a spot open for me. But how cool was that to be able to slide in like that? You found your game. You figured out just how to stay in the lineup through hits, through sheer physicality. But you also were making plays in the zone too. Don't you have to? I noticed. You have to do something different every summer to train new parts of your game, right? I mean, did you go through that? Like every summer, I'm like, okay, I got to fix this. Well, I wasn't great on the wall, so let me try this every single practice. What'd you do to get to the next level?
For sure, no, it's the game. You watch games. The game's completely changed. And when I came into the league, my focus was a lot more sitting in the gym and getting as strong as I could because I knew I had to, fight the big guys that you were fighting on that team. Like when I took your spot, that was my role now, and I had to deal with the big boys that were in the league, and I wasn't really a heavyweight. I wasn't really a fighter when I was younger, so I had to kind of train myself to be that. But then, as they started putting the instigator rule and making these guys revisers, that kind of went away, and now all of a sudden the game's getting faster. Well, now I'm not going home and pushing 300, 400 pounds around every day. Now I'm doing a lot less weights, and I'm on the ice and working on my speed and doing box jumps more with weighted vests and just different things. Now I got to work on my hands a little bit more. I stopped doing the beer league skates and started getting an actual trainer. I started acting like a hockey player for once. So, as the game evolved, I had to evolve, especially in the summers, because you see all these guys, these heavyweights that played in the league, and there's not a lot of us left. And I guess that's just the ability to adapt. I like playing in this league, so adapting was, my main priority.
Ryan, I want you to touch on that because you told me that when you first came up to the NHL, that you never fought in junior. You may have had a couple of fights, but it wasn't your role. And it wasn't your role in the American Hockey League, and then things changed, right? If you were ever going to, transition to becoming a full-time NHLer, you knew fighting had to be a part of your game. Tell us that story.
Yeah, so, I can still pinpoint the moment. It was, one of them was we were in the AHL, and there was a big line brawl, and I grabbed the guy, but I kept my gloves on. And, Jan Stastny just laid a strip into me after the game. He's like, that's bull. You got to drop your gloves and protect your teammates. And this is going down. You're the only one with your gloves on. And so he lays a strip into me. And then the biggest one was at the end of that year. Davis Payne he kind of knew he was going to be the head coach the next year in St. Louis. And he sat me down and said, "Listen, if you want to make the NHL, you're going to have to start fighting. You're going to have to the way you play, you have to start sticking up for yourself. And, if you want to be that role player, you have to start sticking up for teammates and drawing energy from the crowd and all that." And, those words just stuck with me. If you want to make the NHL, and that, whatever he said, okay, well, yeah, I want to make the NHL. So I went home that summer and I took boxing lessons 3 times a week. And I came back, and it didn't matter, what was moving on the ice that year. I wanted to fight it, and I had, and I got noticed for it. That was my best year in the AHL, and that was the first time I got noticed by, the brass up in St. Louis. I got a shot the next year.
Did you like Davis?
I liked him in Peoria a lot. I think he was a big part of where I am right now. I think he struggled a little bit as first year head coach.
Yeah.
I liked him. And I know not everybody liked him there, but for me, he was a big part of where I am today. So yeah, I gotta say it did.
There you go. See, I like that. He gives his own opinion. Davis Payne used to call me after games and act like it was an accident. And it would be like, he'd be like, hello? Oh, Andy? Must have been a butt dial. And he'd call me on accident. And then he'd have something to say. There'd always be a reason for it. Hey, I want to let you know, just while we're talking, here's why we had too many men on the ice for that.
Yeah.
And
he did that.
He'd throw Sobey under the bus or somebody under the bus.
We took a lot of too many men penalties that year.
Oh, yeah. You did.
I remember that.
You did.
Reaver, so I love watching you play still, and you're the big boy of the league right now. Of course, everything's kind of changed. You have to be able to play. We went through all that, but you do have a couple feuds going on with a couple of guys in the NHL, and one of them's Evander Kane from the San Jose Sharks. You guys are going back and forth, and people read into that in so many different ways. But I do want to get your opinion. You guys battle back and forth, and everybody always says, when you battle with guys on the ice, you're always cool afterwards. Do you talk to Evander? I mean, do you really not like him? What's the deal with that whole feud?
Yeah, no, I don't talk to him. I don't even think I have his number. Yeah, I don't know. I just don't like him. It started, in junior we didn't like each other, and we always had battles there.
Oh, okay.
And then it was just, he played in the East, I played in the West, and every time we played him, it was like, he would always say he was going to beat me up. It was like, I would dump you, blah, blah, blah.
Get out of here.
He's 10 feet tall. Right, but then when it came down to it, okay, fine, if you're going to beat me up, then let's go right now. And the gloves never came off. And I got no problem chirping back and forth, but if you're going to, and then, and then he tells his buddies he asked me to fight. I think he did that last year. He told somebody on Saturday, I was asking Reaves to fight out again. Yeah, right, get out of here. I've been begging him to fight for 10 years. I finally got him to do it last year. But, he just talks all this shit all the time, and it's just, I got no respect for that if you're not going to back it up.
How often does it get personal? I mean, is that really the only situation that exists, at least in your hockey life right now, where it's personal, or is that common, around the NHL, where some of these issues become personal, where it crosses the line a little bit?
Yeah, I would say I don't have any. I mean, Sid and Tom Wilson, we obviously don't like each other. I don't know what he's like off the ice. And, we just don't like each other because we both play the same way, and I'm not going to say he's a bad guy off the ice by any means, but I don't know him. But yeah, I wouldn't say there's too many. I don't have too many personal feuds like that besides Evander.
Reaver, do you have to? Obviously, the game's changed so much, and you're a big hitter, man. You're 225 pounds. You're cut.
Oh, because even when he wasn't fighting, he was always hitting.
He always hit. His dad played football. Your daddy played football.
Yep.
You're jacked as all hell. You're hitting guys. Did you have to, and I had to kind of do the same thing, though, kind of transition your game, you know what, I'm not going to hit this guy on the back check because I'm probably going to catch him a little bit high. Do you overthink hits now?
You know what, I've never been somebody to want to hit somebody from behind, and I've only been suspended one time in my career, and I've been top 10 in hits every year almost that I play a full season. I don't know, I've never really wanted to put somebody in a position that they were, hurt. These guys go to war in the same sport that I do. I want to get them legally. I think it's way better to, catch somebody legally than, you're not proving anything by running somebody from behind or throwing an elbow in their face. That's not proving anything. That's just kind of being a piece of shit, to be honest. I like to do it legally. I like to hit clean, but, you know me, I hit hard, and I do hit to hurt, but not in a way that's illegal.
So how do you handle the pressure when everyone calls you, the toughest player in the game today, And because I know you want to go out there and listen.
There's no pressure anymore.
No, I mean, I've seen him on the power play at times in Vegas. This guy can make plays and he can finish around the net. So I know at the end of the day, listen, you view yourself as a hockey player, but can that pressure be overwhelming sometimes, feeling like you got to go out and prove how tough you are, even though you don't need to prove it to anybody else, but like maybe go out there and drop the gloves when you may not feel like it, when you just want to play the game and have a regular shift?
Yeah, I think I've proved how tough I am throughout my career. This is year 10 for me, and I think I've had enough fights and I've won enough fights that I don't need to go out and constantly prove how tough I am. And the way the game's changed, it's even tougher to even do that anyways. There's none of those. Very rarely do you see guys lining up at center ice now and saying, "Hey, let's go." Those kind of days are over. And to be honest, they don't really, the coach and GM don't really like that here. It's that's more for show. I think they'd rather me do it because of the situation where I ran somebody and I got to stick up for myself, or somebody ran somebody on my team and I got to stick up for them. I think that's more the situation they want me to fight. They don't want me to fight just to prove that I'm the toughest guy in the league. That kind of stuff is irrelevant now.
You don't need to. You don't need to do that. Everybody knows that already. And if you got to kind of snarl at some guys on the ice, that goes a long way. People are always. I always said this, Reaves, and Reaver, you know this. You could always turn down a fight, but you can't turn down hits. So if hitting is the most intimidating thing in hockey right now. You catch a guy with their head down. That's all you need to do. And if somebody wants to jump in and fight you, it is what it is. I do want to get into a couple things though, as far as speaking of fighting though. Who throughout your career, and I know it's gone down now because there's not too many guys that even want to look at you anymore. But who scared you? There's always a couple guys, and you can be the toughest guy in the league, but there's always a couple guys that scared you. Who were those guys leading into the NHL?
Oh, who scared me? I mean, I would say up until I fought him, that was always somebody I was like, oh man, I'm gonna have to fight this guy. And when I finally did, and I cut him open and gave him a little bit of a conky, I think that moment was when I realized I was tough, because McGrattan was a killer, and I'm not saying I killed him, but I caught him with a couple, and I split him open, and he didn't play for a couple games because of it. And I think that day my mindset switched. Was like, okay, maybe I am a little tougher than I think, and my confidence in my fighting started building a bit. But McGrattan definitely was one guy that up until I fought him, I was not worried, but it was one of those, like, before the game, I was like, God, am I going to fight this guy? I'm going to have to fight this guy. I'm going to have to, if I run somebody, he's coming after me. So
even if you don't,
that was kind of the guy.
Even if you don't,
but
he's coming.
Guys are scared of you, though. And I can tell by your body language on the ice when there's a scrum and maybe you're talking and someone's trying to say something back to you, and hey, that guy truly, when it comes down to it, he doesn't want to have anything to do with you. What's that like, Reaver? What's that like when a guy is scared of you? Do you laugh? What's that like?
Yeah, I mean, you can probably see me a lot on the ice. I do laugh a lot. I'm always smiling a lot because I love playing this game, but a lot because you get guys that come over and we were playing San Jose the other day, and one of their D-men comes up and gives me a couple jersey jabs, and it's just like, okay, well, now what? Are you going to drop the gloves, or is that the extent of what you're doing? Because I know that's where it ends right there. He's not going to drop the gloves with me. That's the end of what he wanted. So, I just got to laugh because nothing's really going to happen.
But that's nice, though. Like, you don't. So when you're talking about McGrattan, and you have to think about it, that's the hardest thing for me was, the pregame nap where I'm like, okay, is this cat going to knock me out? Like, what are we doing? Is he? Yeah. You're thinking. No, you just go play. Go play. Now, I'm maybe when you play against Tom Wilson, like, he'll hit you too, and he could throw a little bit. So maybe you'll have a little bit the butterflies playing against Washington once in a while. But other than that, man, like, it must be nice to go just play the damn game.
Yeah, as these big guys, when John Scott left, and all these big guys started leaving, and I was kind of the me, Lucic, Prout, but kind of the last heavies kind of remaining. You bring it easier because you know that now you're the one that everybody's scared of, and now everybody's not sleeping because you might go and run them. Nobody's not sleeping because they might have to fight me because, I only had 3 fights last year. That's not really part of the game anymore. But, guys, I think guys know when I'm on the ice, and they know that every shift I'm not going to poke check. I'm going to go run somebody, and I think that's kind of what I bring to this team is, putting a little bit of that uncertainty, especially in D-men, because I'm not dangling at the blue line by any means.
We know.
I don't even know if
we
I
know,
have
Reaver.
There you go. So everybody knows that I play the same way, and that same way is that I'm going to come run you and try and create that energy, and that's just my game. That's just how it is.
Reaver, I was at the draft when you were traded from St. Louis to Pittsburgh, and that was the first time you'd probably ever been traded, at least in the as a pro. It definitely was. I don't know if you were ever traded in junior or not, but did that rattle you? Because I know you guys were a pretty tight group, right? I know a lot of guys came and saw you before you left and whatever, but did that rattle you when you first got traded, not knowing how it was all going to play out, even though it's worked out pretty well for you?
Yeah, I mean, that next morning was really tough for me. I think, the night it happened, it was just more of a shock, and it was like, oh man, I gotta go pack up my place in St. Louis. I gotta go find a place in Pittsburgh. I'm talking to Rutherford, I'm talking to Sullivan, got a couple texts from like Sid and Gino and all that stuff, and so all that stuff's kind of going through my mind. And then I remember I just woke up the next morning and I was rattled, and I was a little bit, I was sad, I was depressed. It was tough. I was, like you said, I was there for 7 years, and it was a really tight group, and I didn't know anything else but the St. Louis Blues, and I didn't know anything else but those guys. So knowing that I'm not going to see them anymore, and I got to go get used to a whole new team in a whole new city that I know nothing about was, the unknown is a little scary sometimes. And, I got to Pittsburgh, and it just wasn't a great fit for me. And so that was a little rattling, too. That whole beginning of the season was tough for me. I wasn't playing a lot, wasn't producing anything. It just wasn't a good fit. And then, that trade ended up being the best thing that ever happened to me because I made my way to Vegas. And, now I have a bigger role than I've ever had in my career on one of the best, the best team in the league. So at the time, it was frustrating, but in hindsight, it was the best thing that ever happened in my career.
What'd you take out of playing with Sid for a little bit there? I mean, is he the best player you've ever seen?
Plus, walking into a group where they've all won,
they're all successful.
What's that like as a player walking in to a core group that has had so much success as a team?
Yeah, that was another thing that went through my head. It was, at first I was rattled, and it was like, well, wait, you guys won back-to-back cups, and they just traded for me. I got to feel good about that. At very least, I got to feel good that the best team in the league wanted me. So that kind of changed my mindset a little bit. But touching on Sid, man, that guy is, he's the best player I've ever seen play. But just watching this guy in practice is insane. The things he does, but in games he shoots from behind the goal line, banks off the goalie's head, and goes in. He's like, you're trying to center it, and went off the goalie's head, whatever. No, he does that every practice, and that stuff is not a mistake. The things he does in games and in practice is, I think there was a couple times where I missed my time up in a drill because I was just watching Sid do his thing. He's mesmerizing with the puck, and the things he can do is wild.
Is he normal? Like, can you sit there? Because some of these guys they're so good, and Sid has been this way since he was a kid. So he's kind of had just like in the spotlight his whole life. Is he a robot to talk to? Does he go out? Does he walk? Can he even walk around town?
No, it's funny. I'll tell you a little story. So when we played Pittsburgh all the time, for some reason, me and Sid just always had some run-ins, and I've caught him with some pretty big hits. I think I don't know if I have one of his concussions. Maybe I don't know. I know he hurt his wrist one time. We got into it outside the bus one time. We just always seemed to get into these run-ins. I always thought he was just a little crybaby. And I got to Pittsburgh, And, you know, we went out a couple times, and, you know, we had a day off, and he came out with me, and he was the last man standing with me. And I remember I went up to him, and I was like, listen, man, I used to think you were an absolute loser, and I got to apologize because you are an absolute beauty. Like, he is an unreal guy off ice. He's one of the boys. And I understand, you know, hockey players get recognized, but Sid is a celebrity. Like, he draws actual crowds. I remember we were in San Jose. There was a lineup of probably 200 people waiting for him outside the hotel, and one guy said, "Hey, Sid, we made a line for you." So we keep walking, and all of a sudden I just see Sid stop, and I thought he stopped to sign everybody's autographs. And I was like, "Oh, what a great guy." And then I look back, and he is in the middle of this absolute swarm. And so we go back and we grab him out of there, and he's literally like got his hands over his head because people are trying to get at him. And like, so that's the problem is when you become that much of a celebrity. Well, how are you gonna? You know, how can you go all the time? It's not. It can't be that fun. So you know what I mean. So you know, people trip him for not going out. Well, no, it just doesn't go out because he doesn't want to get bugged all the time.
Oh, I've heard guys have told me that his favorite day of the year is Halloween because he can wear a costume, whatever. People don't know who he is. And what you said, I mean, other players have backed that up too. Like he does go pretty hard off the ice, and you know, I mean, whatever, you know, however you want to define that. But he's not a guy that you would think that just what you're saying and just hangs back and doesn't go out and doesn't have fun. Isn't one of the boys like he can cut loose? Right?
He's a rock star.
Yeah, he's one of my favorite guys I've ever played with. To be honest with you, that's coming from far away from when I used to play against him. I used to talk a lot of shit about Sid.
Yeah, no, he took a lot of abuse, and then he'd bitch and moan about a lot of things. But that guy's a rock star, and he can do what he wants. But speaking of you, buddy, you're back in Vegas. There's a lot to do there. Like you say, you got a beer out now. How is that going down? And do you feel like even playing in that city though, that after hockey would open up a lot of different avenues for you?
Yeah. You know, they got the beer out right now. We have 2 beers out officially as of basically this week. We got 2 more coming out in the next 2-3 months. You know, as of right now, you know, when I got traded here, and here's another story. I used to hate Vegas. We used to have team trips after the year, you know, a little boys trip after the season, and we used to pick out a hat, and I always put Miami in there, and everybody always put Vegas, and I used to hate coming here. You know, I felt like garbage leaving. I had no more money, and it was just like, you know how it is when you come to Vegas. And I got traded here, and I fell in love with the city within a month and a half. And I was like, oh man, I don't ever want to leave this place. And you know, as of right now, I could see myself retiring here. You know, for sure for a little bit. You know, I'm building a house here. I got the beer company now. So after hockey is hopefully, you know, another 5 years away, but when that time comes, this is definitely a city I can see myself in. You
know, you're doing the commercials too for the water company and whatever. It just seems like the Ryan Reaves brand has taken off, and I mean that can't be by accident. First off, you got a great personality for it. You do a great job in the commercials and stuff. But does the organization, like, do they encourage you to be yourself and get out there and don't just be labeled as just a hockey player? I mean, you're in a city where you can do other stuff.
Or do they tighten it up and say, no, we need you to focus on hockey?
Maybe a little bit of both. I mean, you know, the water commercial actually came through the team. They approached me about that. You know, I'm doing a thing with Stations Casino out here with my beer. There's a bunch of stuff that, you know, that the team does encourage me to do and that runs to the team. But, you know, there's definitely stuff that I do outside the team, signings and appearances and all that. You know, obviously, they've been really generous in allowing me to have this beer company. You know, they said as long as you're performing on the ice, you do what you want. And, you know, I took that to heart. I made sure I was putting hockey first so that I could continue to do the beer thing. But, no, you know, I'm not saying anything too stupid. They allowed me to do my thing.
Could you see you expanding the beer, like bringing it to St. Louis too? Because you know it would take off here as well.
Yeah, absolutely. That's we've discussed that, and you know we want to become a little bit bigger in Vegas first. You get that brand out there and get the brand out kind of without it having to be my face. But St. Louis is definitely one of the early expansion cities we've talked about.
All right, you got to hook us up with some. By the way.
He will.
I've sent you beer, Reaver. You got to send me some now. Okay.
For sure, I got you.
We'll talk when you come back into St. Louis, and everybody here still misses you, man.
Say hi to Stastny too, man. He had a great game last night.
He had a great game. You got a great team. You got a great team, buddy. You really do.
We got a really good team. We got a lot of confidence in this locker room right now, and I'm excited to see what this team can do this year. That's for sure. But yeah, Staz is buzzing.
Yeah, he is. And of course, his brother hooked you up, just like you said, in the minors, and told you need to drop the gloves. Thank God that you weren't roommates with Jan, because he snores worse than any person I've ever met in my life. I almost threw him out the fucking window. Reaver, hey, thank you for coming on, bud. Go do your thing. We love watching it. You're in a great spot. You're doing great things, and we miss you out here in St. Louis, big boy.
Yeah, thanks for doing this, man.
Absolutely. Anytime.
See you, buddy.
Good luck to you, too.
Absolutely. Thank you.
That was Ryan Reaves.
Oh, boy.
The Grim Reaver.
I believe he has a beer out called the Grim Reaver.
Well, he does. It's one of the beers. It's not the name of the actual brewing company. 75 Brewing Company.
He's doing this thing in Vegas.
He really is, man.
Oh my gosh.
How much would you like to play in a market like that?
Be dead. You kidding? Oh my God. No, I'd have a blast. And he said that he gets recognized more in Vegas than he did in this bubble in St. Louis. And it's hard to believe. I was very surprised. You can't even go to the gas station without talking blues.
You've been to Vegas for the games.
Yes, I have.
I mean, it is absolutely
so fun.
Insane.
It's insanity. And everybody on the strip can walk right there. Everything's nice. It's just a really, really nice setup. They have a really exciting, fun team. And he's part of that, where he's playing physical still. It was a great interview.
Who would have thought that Vegas would all of a sudden become just one of the more popular spots in the National Hockey League? I know he said it's a hotbed. I mean, listen, when I think of hotbed...
You chirped him. You backtracked a little bit on that.
I think of Boston. I think of Minnesota. St. Louis, obviously.
Chicago, maybe.
Detroit, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, those are NHL hotbeds and hockey hotbeds. I mean, Vegas, obviously, listen, they've gotten out in front. They're enjoying
They market well.
They do.
And they put on a show. Do you see the pregame shows in Vegas are...
You going to call it a hockey hotbed or just a popular hockey spot?
No. I'm not calling it a hockey hotbed. And you're not calling it a hockey hotbed.
No.
But then you backtrack because you thought you pissed him off a little bit, which you probably did.
I just know he's probably told by the Vegas Golden Knights, hey, listen, we got to keep calling this a hockey hotbed. Hey, keep pumping it up as a hockey market, which it's become. There's no doubt, man. It's people get into it. They're excited. When you've never had a professional sports team before, and then you get your first one. I mean, it's cool to see a city
celebrities
kind of rally
are there
behind it. Yeah. And I'm glad he pointed out that, listen, when you live here, it's kind of like amateur hour if you go down to the strip. There's a lot more stuff to do, and when you live there, you're not hanging out at the strip all the time.
I'll give you an example. It's like me being from Eureka, Missouri, and going to Six Flags still. It ain't happening. It's a tourist. I hate it. But no, that's the exact same thing. But you're forced going in there, and after games, you're just right there, right in the middle of everything. Very, very cool stuff. He also gets into Sidney Crosby, talking about how unbelievable guy he is.
I've heard that from other people, too.
Heard that a million times. Yeah. But you look at Sid, and the way he's brought up, he's been in the spotlight since he was a kid, just like Wayne Gretzky was. Like you're just a man at a young age, and you watch him in these interviews. He always says the right thing. He can't even go out in public. Like you can't. He's so popular. He's a rock star.
He's a celebrity.
He's a rock star,
as Reaver put it.
Yes, a celebrity. Yeah. Everybody's athletes. He's a celebrity.
Yeah, but there's not too many celebrities walking around in the NHL. He's probably the one guy, maybe Connor McDavid.
Ovi can't walk anywhere.
No, Ovi's a celeb.
Totally. He sticks out like a sore thumb too. He's got a missing tooth. You look at Ovi, you're like, oh yeah, that's Alexander Ovechkin. Where he can't hide anywhere.
Brett Hall is a celebrity here in town.
There you go.
And you know who else
Andy
was?
Andy Strickland is a celebrity here.
TJ Oshie was a celebrity.
There you go. We might be getting him on.
We're gonna get Oshie on. I thought he just played his 900th game, but I didn't read his.
Oh,
tweet
thank God!
right.
I was hoping you would retweet that and have to delete it like you usually do.
I almost did, like I usually do. I've been known to do that.
We've done it. I've done it too. But anyway, follow us on Twitter.
Yeah.
Cam Janssen 25. Strick Daddy, is it?
Strick Nasty.
Strick Nasty. That's okay.
No,
Strick Nasty.
My Twitter is at Andy Strickland.
Okay.
Instagram is at Real Strick Nasty, and. You can
follow
catch it all there. Yeah, but we've got the YouTube account, the Cam and Strick podcast. We're now available on iTunes, which is really cool, and also Spotify as well, so you can listen to us on the go. People have made comments and giving us some feedback, which we appreciate. We want more of that. And, some of our listeners, they said, hey, can you put that up on iTunes? Can you put that up on Spotify? What did we do?
We did it.
We put it up on Spotify.
No, you didn't do it.
Jamie Ryan did,
our producer.
Our producer/engineer.
Yes.
He makes everything go for us. Yeah, he's kind of like the guy who makes you do stuff you don't want to do, but that you have to do.
Exactly right.
And obviously, it's helping us get off the ground here with our podcast. So that was fun, man. Ryan Reaves was great. We still have Mike Commodore, who's up there. You can listen to the archive shows.
Ryan O'Reilly,
which kicked it off for this season. So we'll have more to come. By the way, most of these podcasts are going to come your way on Mondays, maybe early Tuesday morning. Next Monday, the Blues play a home game. We'll all be working. We've got our duties, obviously, with Fox Sports Midwest, so we won't be able to do a live podcast next Monday. So we may release it maybe a day later than usual, so bear with us and be sure to follow us on Twitter. You'll get all the information and certainly get the updates. And, of course, at Cam and Strick, that's our Twitter account for our podcast, our show Twitter account, which you can get all the information there, too.
Check it out. Thank you to Ryan Reaves, and thank you to the Normal brand here.
Yes, man. This is a great
8809
spot.
Ladue Road. Check this place out. They got great stuff, and I really want to thank the Sandstone boys for having us in here. So, Ryan Reaves, he's the man. He brought the heat, and we're going to be back next week with another one.
Adios.
See you.
Cool.